Add-on Solutions. Add-on Desires.
Hello viewers, welcome to Add-on Solutions Daily News Analysis Session. I'm Lokesh Penugunda. We'll start with a quote. Don't stop when you are tired. Stop when you are done. The first article of the discussion is about USA and its challenges in the West Asia. Just after getting elected as the US President and taking over the office of the President in the United States, Mr. Biden has taken several steps and taken several policies concerning the West Asia. Now we'll see a few of his policies regarding West Asia. He has ordered the bombing of Iran-backed militias in Syria. This was widely seen as a retaliation to the attacks of Iran-based militias and Iran-supported militias which attacked the Iraq base of USA, as the Iran-supported militias have attacked the Iraq base of United States. United States have to retaliate by ordering military strikes on the Iran-supported militias in Syria. And also, we've seen his administration declassifying the reports regarding the murder, regarding the killing of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi, who was critical of Saudi Arabian administration. He was killed by the orders of bin Salman, allegedly. Mr. bin Salman is the crown prince of the Saudi Arabia, and Mr. Jamal Khashoggi, who was critical of Mr. bin Salman, has been killed in the Saudi Arabian consulate at Turkey. And now the intelligence reports which were earlier classified have been declassified by the Biden administration. And also, we've seen Biden administration's efforts to revive the talks between USA and the Iran and to revive the nuclear deal with Iran. So, if we see all these patterns, we don't understand and we don't see the interlinkage of it. But if you can understand, it all seems to be a broad policy of United States in the West Asia. And there has been a strategic reality that all United States presidents since the World War II have tried to leave deep policy imprints in the West Asian region, because West Asian regions have been given huge amount of energy resources, and all United States presidents since World War II tried to make policies and try to leave a deep impact on these regions. In the same way, we've seen Mr. Obama who have fought and who have worked for the signing of Iran deal, or also called as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. We have seen United States unwillingly, reluctantly agreeing to sign a deal with Iran, so that Iran's ambitions and Iran's nuclear ambitions, nuclear designs will be put an end and will be limited. So the main reason for signing of a deal rather than attacking Iran was it was thought to be too risky, because Iran was also having minimum military capabilities, and the war with Iran could lead to numerous deaths and also huge amount of money. Thinking all these issues, the Obama administration have signed the Iran deal with Iran to limit the nuclear capabilities of the Iranian government. And later we've seen Mr. Trump, who was being hostile to Iran openly. He has come out of the Iran deal, and he also ordered the killing of General of Iran, he also ordered the killing of Iranian General Mr. Soleimani at Iraq. So we've seen very hostile approach towards Iran during the Trump presidency. And also he has given full support to Saudi Arabia and even Israel to deal with Iran. And now we've seen a reversal in the ideology and thinking of the United States of America. This was mainly on the backdrop of the Chinese threat and Chinese rise in the South China Sea, because from the last few years, if we can see, China has been making inroads into several countries and in the so-called Nine Dash Line, which is a part in the South China Sea, it has laid claims over many of the territories, and also we can see this aggressive behavior in the Hong Kong, in Tibet, in Xinjiang, and even line of actual control with China. To deter China's aggression in the South China Sea and to contain China, it is important for United States to shift its focus from West Asia to East Asia. But it cannot leave West Asia when there are many simmering problems and huge issues that needs to be resolved. So why is it important for United States to look after the West Asia? First, West Asia hosts thousands of United States troops, and also West Asia is home to some of the closest allies of United States, including Saudi Arabia. And also there are huge reserves of oil and gas, and if there is any problem in the supply chain and supply of these important resources, the global markets in the oil will fluctuate so much and it would lead to huge crisis in the economy. And also America and its allies have invested hugely on the oil and gas infrastructure in the West Asia. So due to all these reasons, it is important for United States to resolve the problems in West Asia before it can shift its focus to the East Asia. But there has been a difference in the approach between the previous administration and the current administration. During the Obama period, the focus was on diplomatic ways and to sign agreements between these countries to reduce the tensions and to improve the bilateral relationship. And during the Obama period, we've seen only diplomatic initiatives and there was no bombing or no attacks on the Iran-backed militia in any of the other countries. But whereas in the Biden's current approach, we see not only the diplomatic way, but also to increase the pressure on Iran. There have been attacks on the Iran-backed militias in not only Iraq but also in Syria. So Mr. Biden is following the carrot and stick approach, and also to balance out his actions, Mr. Biden has said that he is ending the support to the Saudi Arabia, which is fighting a war with Yemen. And also Mr. Biden's administration have said that they will delist the Houthis who are fighting Saudi Arabian forces in the Yemen. So with both good and some hard posturing, Mr. Biden is trying to have a balanced approach to deal with Iran. So what are the challenges United States will face in the West Asia? First is with President Rouhani and the Iranian government. Iran has been seen as backing militias, and these militias are not only attacking American allies but also attacking the American bases in countries such as Iraq, and the militias is also fighting with the government forces in Syria. So they have a problem to deal with the Iran-backed forces. Also, as Mr. President Rouhani of the Iran, who signed the original agreement between Iran and other P5 countries, Mr. Rouhani will be leaving the office in May of this year. So the time is running out for the Biden's administration to sign the deal, because as Mr. Rouhani was also already well versed with the deal and is also confident of bettering the relations and is also willing to sign the deal with the P5 countries, it would be better and it would be easy for the American administration to deal with President Rouhani before he leaves his office. So this is one challenge the United States is facing, that it has to deal with the Iran supported militias, and it also has to deal with the diplomatically with the Iran to revive the nuclear talks. Second is with Saudi Arabia. We have seen the relation between United States and the Saudi Arabia reducing in the last few years, as United States has become the largest oil producer. Its dependency on energy and its dependency on oil from the West Asia and particularly the Saudi Arabia has been reduced in the last few years. and we can understand the divergences and we can understand the reducing of relations between United States and Saudi Arabia from these actions. When oil fields of the Saudi Arabia were attacked by the Houthis with Iran's weapons, United States did not give any retaliation, did not retaliate. This is first. And in the Yemen's war, United States has announced that it is ending the support to Saudi Arabia-led coalition. So, from these two divergences between the US and the Saudi Arabia, we can see that the relation has seen up and downs in the last few years, and also there has been a concern in the US and other circles that Mr. bin Salman, who is the current prince of Saudi Arabia and who is widely believed to be the successor and who will become the king in future, is having a good relationship with President of Russia, who is Mr. Vladimir Putin. So these are concerns when it comes with dealing of Saudi Arabia. And also there are concerns with Israel. What are these concerns? First, Israel is not willing and Israel is even reluctant and hesitant to any deal with Iran. Israel announced full support to the Trump when he announced that he is coming out of the Iran deal, and now that Mr. Biden is fighting and Mr. Biden is having an approach of reviving this deal and is planning to revive this, Israel is not okay with it, and also United States is keen on improving the Palestinian rights because many experts have stated that the usage of excessive force by the Israelis on the Palestinian people has been excessive, and there is a need for Israelis to reduce the force and to improve the Palestinians' human rights conditions. And also, one more issue with the Israelis is the increasing number of settlements in the West Bank. From the last few years, what we witnessed is a number of settlements, number of homes that are being constructed in the West Bank, which is widely seen as a Palestinian territory. So, United States can focus, and if it's focused on all these issues, the relationship between the Israel and United States might go down. So these are some concerns when it comes to United States and the West Asian issues. At the same time, it is important for USA to resolve all these issues and to shift its focus from West Asia to East Asia. But there are experts who are stating that United States does not have the same depth, does not have the same power it used to have earlier, because it is now widely seen as a sunset power and is also seen as declining power. So it is only time will tell how the United States will resolve all these issues and will help in containing the China. Next is talking about an article which is stating the negative effects leading to lead because of linkage of ration plus Aadhaar. As the linkage of ration and Aadhaar was mandated earlier, many people who did not link their Aadhaar card with their ration card has lost their ration card and has lost their ration benefits. So now what we are seeing is Ms. Koili Devi, who is a resident of Jharkhand, approaching the Supreme Court. She approached the Supreme Court and is seeking independent investigation on the starvation deaths in the country. She is also seeking the reversal of cancellation of ration cards. Due to the reason that they are not linked with their Aadhaar cards. Next, she is also seeking compensation for the death of her daughter. In 2017, her daughter, who is only 11 years old, has died due to starvation, due to hunger. She alleges that because of their ration support has been withdrawn, because that their ration card is not linked with their Aadhaar, this ration card benefits have been withdrawn. So she alleges that because of this, her daughter has died, and now she's seeking all the investigations, and she's seeking the compensation. She has approached the Supreme Court now. So we'll see how many how many ration cards have been removed, and what are the ill effects due to the removal of ration cards. First, Union government has stated that nearly 4 crore ration cards have been cancelled in the last few years. It has stated that there are many reasons for these cancellations, including duplication of ration cards and such other reasons. But experts believe that majority of these ration cards were removed, were cancelled because they are not linked to the Aadhaar cards of the beneficiaries. And this is widely believed as an important reason for the cancellation of millions of ration cards. And even now, of the 23 crore ration cards which are given by the governments, only 20 crore ration cards are linked. So what are the issues? Why many ration cards, many beneficiaries are not able to link their ration cards with Aadhaar cards? First is an issue of iris and thumb scan. Second is an issue of spelling, because if there are any spelling mistakes in their Aadhaar card and it is not matching with the ration card, then interlinkage and linking of these two are not possible. So many of the beneficiaries are not able to link due to this reason. Also, due to lack of internet connection and due to lack of awareness in tribal areas and in rural population, the interlinking is not done well. And also due to lack of documents, the interlinking could not be done. So these are some of the important reasons why beneficiaries could not link their ration card with their Aadhaar card. And also, when their ration cards are cancelled, some beneficiaries wanted to get it back. Some beneficiaries tried to appeal and try to go to the grievance redressal mechanism systems, which are mandated by the National Food Security Act. Under National Food Security Act, it was mandated that grievance redressal mechanisms should be established in every state, so that if any beneficiary is included or excluded, they can approach this grievance redressal mechanism and get solution. But it is widely observed in many states that many of the states are appointing the people who are responsible for distribution as grievance officers. So people who are already existing in the distribution system are deputed as grievance officers. So they would not take action on their own. They would not take action against themselves. So we've seen many people losing out the ration benefits. So now if the ration card is withdrawn, if it's cancelled, we'll see what would happen. It would lead to lack of ration supplies from the government. It would lead to malnourishment, because many of these beneficiaries are generally poor, and if the ration supply is not proper, if it stops, then it would lead to malnourishment of the beneficiaries. It would affect the mental and physical well-being, and it would also affect the productivity of the beneficiary who is not able to get the food, and it would lead to hunger deaths. And the hunger deaths we've seen in Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal and many other states, and it would lead to, and this is against the constitutional principle of right to life, because right to life is not just the right to live, it is also the right to live a decent life. Without food, you cannot have a decent life. So this is widely seen against this principle. Also, it would lead to further worsening of the India's ranking in the global indices. From Global Health Index, we can see that India is ranked as 94 of the 107 countries which were analyzed, and if the problem continues, our ranking will further go down. already we were categorized under the category of serious hunger category, and if the ration supply is not provided back, it would lead to worsening of the beneficiaries. So what is the way forward? First, there is a need to allow ration services without linking to the Aadhaar cards, because then even people without Aadhaar cards linkages will be able to get whatever benefits government is planning to provide them. There is a need to set up a commission to inquire into this issue, as we've seen earlier that 4 crore ration cards have been cancelled, and even if we take 50% of them, 50% of them are due to unlinking of ration with Aadhaar, it is nearly 2 crore ration cards. And if we take 5 people for family, it is nearly 10 crore. So nearly 10 crore beneficiaries are losing out their ration benefits. So as this is a huge issue, there is a need for an independent commission to inquire into this. Next, there is a need to follow the Supreme Court directions in the Swaraj Abhiyan cases. In this Swaraj Abhiyan case, Supreme Court has directed the government to follow the social auditing process and to set up the vigilance committee. So by setting up vigilance committees and doing the social audits, the government would be able to know the various problems lying with this act. Last, there is a need to work with the states, because states are the final bodies which issue the ration card. So there is a need, and there is a need for the central government to work to coordinate with the states to reissue the ration cards which were cancelled. Next is talking about S-400 deal and also the CAATSA sanctions. We'll skip the CAA part. So we'll see what is this CAATSA sanctions. CAATSA stands for Countering American Adversaries through Sanctions Act. This was a federal law of United States. It was passed through sanctions. It was passed to sanction countries which are seen as aggressive, which are not following the rule of law, which are inimical to the United States. So what are these 3 countries which are sanctioned under this law? First is Russia. Second is Iran. Third is North Korea. Not only does this act sanctions these 3 countries, but also it would sanction the countries which are having significant transactions with these countries in defense and intelligence. So let's take an example. We can take an example of Turkey. Turkey bought some defense equipment from Russia. As this defense deal is significant, United States had to put some sanctions on Turkey, because Turkey is seen as doing significant transactions in defense sector with Russia. So this is how it works. And in this article, it is stated that India, which is planning to buy S-400, which is a missile defense system from Russia, with nearly worth of 5.5 billion, can be put up under the sanction under the CAATSA. So it is important for India to get relief from these sanctions. So what is the way forward for this? First, as we already enjoy bipartisan support in the United States, there is a need to focus on the bipartisan support and get relief. And also, we can engage diplomatically with the United States and seek relief and other benefits under this act. Next article is regarding the electoral bonds. We have explained the electoral bonds on our 9th March 2021 news analysis session. Visit this 9th March 2021 session at 10:19 seconds. Next, we comes to prelims practice questions. Global House Price Index is released by Knight Frank, World Bank, National Housing Bank, World Economic Forum. This is released by a consultancy firm called as Knight Frank. Consider the following statements. Electoral bonds can only be bought at select State Bank of India branches. The bonds are issued in the multiples of 1 lakh rupees. All registered political parties can accept these bonds. Which of the above statements given are correct? The question is asking for correct statements. So the answer is D, because these bonds can be issued in the multiples of 1000, 10,000, 1 lakh, 10 lakh and 1 crore. Also, not all registered political parties can accept this. Only political parties which are registered under Representation of Peoples Act 1951 and those political parties which got 1% of the votes polled in the last assembly or general election. So only those political parties which have both these qualifications can take donations under the electoral bond scheme. Next, consider the following statements regarding the Narcotics Control Bureau, that is the NCB. It is constituted by the Government of India in 1986 under the Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985. It is the apex coordinating agency under the Ministry of Home Affairs. Which of the above statements given either are correct? The answer is B, because both are correct. Next, we've taken a prelims practice question from 2016. What are the purposes of district mineral foundations in India? Promoting mineral exploration activities in mineral-rich districts, protecting the interests of people affected by mining operations, authorizing state governments to issue licenses for mineral exploration. Select the correct answer. The answer is B. Next, we come to mains practice question. First, what are the potential challenges for US administration while dealing with West Asia? Second, what are the issues raised due to ration card Aadhaar linkages? Give solution to resolve some of these problems. So, this is the end of this session. Thank you.
Add-on solutions. Add-on desired.